And so it continues, the last leg of the last leg. So this will be the final rundown. Final rundown of each and every frame. This is video 9.
Make your choice, Tenno.
And the most obvious choice. Alright, so moving on. So quick rundowns are exactly what they are, quick rundowns. No bells or too much details. Even when I give details and it seems like it's too much, it really isn't too much. I could make an entire 1 hour discussion of one frame, of just one frame in extreme detail. That's why I say these are simply rundowns. Detailed description of each will take forever. So yeah, that's why they're quick rundowns. So last time I left off, it was just Volt and Varuna because that day was busy and I had other things to do in Warframe, such as farming for the giveaway tomorrow, which is not going to be a good one, but it is what it is. I've been busy with a lot of stuff outside of gaming, such is life. But thankfully, I'm one of the few people that actually still keep up to date with what I do. Not in any form of gaming because it's kind of a relief in many ways when I do this. It's a happy place, but it's not really a happy place. A happy place is more like something just to, as I said before, relief. But I don't think it's a relief. Relief is too small of a description for what it is that I do. That's like someone smoking weed and say, no, this is my happy place. Nah, it's more than that. That stuff is too small, in my opinion. It has to be something far greater than that, and does feel something far greater. Otherwise, I wouldn't been playing this game for like more than 8 years now, if that was the case. So it's far greater than something as simple as, you know, just enjoyment for enjoyment's sake. All right, so moving on from that, we're now going getting into Wisp. So it's Wisp, it's Wukong, it's Zaku, and it's Ureli and Zafira. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I should be able to do it real quick. So less talking, more action this time. I need to get all 5 of them done today. I need to focus on farming tomorrow. Farming needs to be focused on tomorrow, so I'll get this done today. So this is her abilities, and we'll start with one of the best S tier Warframes. I believe she might be the best S tier Warframes. If you subsume one of her abilities, let's say if you subsume Will of Wisp with a better ability, like say Grendel's consume ability, Wiki, takes an enemy or at least buffs allies. If you subsume this with his buff ability, a lot of people like to use that. If you have this, Grendel's buff ability to give her a lot of armor, a lot of defense, because she's very glass frame type, it's easy to break. So you need something like to buffer armor, or at least buffer health in return. I would get rid of the second. So she has 3 very good abilities: first, third, and fourth. But is her fourth ability really that good? Not really. So in all truth, she only have 2 very good abilities: her first and her second. Now, at standard, a Warframe that has just 2 abilities will be considered C rated. But how those abilities are used in mission will bump them up to B. And what would take them from B into A and C territory is the power of said abilities. It could be one ability that could take you into C territory, into A territory, and another ability could take you into S territory. But both of those abilities have to be powerful enough to take you into S territory. Um, a lot of people say this is like the top tier S tier Warframe, S plus. But I say no. The simple fact that she only has, in my opinion, I don't believe all that hype. I believe the fact that she has two abilities that aren't that great automatically don't put her in the S tier, top S tier. But if I was to put her in S tier, I would put her at S minus S tier, simply because you could take out one of those abilities, subsume it, and now she has three very good abilities. That will make her S minus if you really think about it, but not S plus. So as great as Wisp is, I believe she's an A plus to an S minus Warframe, because just having one ability, like her first ability, as top tier, top shelf, doesn't mean that she can be considered S tier simply based on one thing. Because if that's the case, then she's really useless in all of the other three, which will not make her S tier or A tier, to be honest with you. But because she has the first and the third that are pretty good in my opinion, that are very good in my opinion, that's the reason why she would be considered S minus, because those two abilities are very good, but not S plus. You would need to do something like get rid of her second abilities to bring her into like S level. You have to understand, for something to be considered S plus, all three or four of the abilities have to work in unison, and then you could decide to replace one of those three out of the four abilities and include a subsume ability to make all four of them work. That will be considered an S plus Warframe. You replace an ability that doesn't work, and now replacing that ability with a subsume ability that does work now makes all four of the abilities work. And not to mention that all four of those abilities help you to survive even longer. That's an S plus Warframe. A Warframe that doesn't have all four of their abilities work in unison with each other or helpful is not really S plus. It would require a subsume ability to make all of them be useful, or at least three of them be extremely useful. Here in this situation, she only really has two, so even if you subsume, she would be like at A plus at best. But because of her first is so very good, a lot of people always subsuming her first in order for them to use that ability, because her first abilities automatically take her from C level to A level, just the first ability alone. And of course the third ability would take her from that A, like say A minus, because in all truth she would be a C plus Warframe, would take her from that A minus to A plus. This will take her to A plus, and then you subsume something and it will take her to like S minus. So it's just not an S plus Warframe. No matter what anyone says, I wouldn't consider her to be an S plus Warframe. I would consider her to be anywhere from A plus to S minus. Anyone who says she's S plus really aren't paying attention. All abilities have to be considered, and what else have to be considered is their health, their armor, their energy, their efficiency. All these things have to be considered. If you're only considering things based on just powers alone, you're not paying attention to everything else as well. How fast they cast their abilities, how long it takes for them to actually lift up a rifle, how fast does it take for them to move from left to right. All these things have to be factored in. She is not that strong for Warframe based on health, based on shield, but based on energy. She just has the standard 300. Speed is is okay, and everything is pretty much substandard as every Warframes are with the 100. So if anyone was to just look at this from the point of view of capacity itself and modding, they would say that she is an average Warframe at best, like in the B level. But if you're looking at things from her power, she would be in the A level to maybe S minus level. But most people will put her in the A plus level. So that said, considering all these factors as well as arcanes and everything included, I'm just going to go with the flow, and I would say that this is anywhere from an A plus to an S minus Warframe. Anyone who says otherwise probably haven't played this game long enough to understand the many faults that comes with the character Wisp. She does have a mechanic that allows her to go invisible when she jumps into air and she aim glide, which is another reason why she's S minus. She has certain mechanics that are particular to herself that are passives that make her S minus. But I would never consider her to be S plus. The fact that she's even in the S territory is the reason why she would be considered a good frame. You have to understand every factor that makes a Warframe and what makes them good and what makes them bad. Here, I'm just showing themselves and what they could do within this combat. Now, the reason why a lot of people put this Warframe as S is simply based on this. Just this one ability. Does that mean that this Warframe is S? No. But if you have just this one ability would take her from what would be the standard of her being C to A. That's it. Just that one ability would take her from being C to A. However, she has two, I think she has one other, the third ability as well. And the third ability, in conjunction with the first ability, would bring her to an A+. And of course, like I just said before, if you replace her second ability with, say, Grendel's Nourish ability, you now have three abilities that work very good and one that doesn't work. She only really has two good abilities, this and this. Subsume this one and keep these two. And then use this whenever you want to. In all truth, she's A+. But because her first is so good, she's S minus. I can't see her being anything S plus. I believe anyone who says she's S plus, they're lying their asses off. So that said, I'll just go into combat and do what you have to do with regards to this Warframe. This is a range Warframe. No, is it? Yes, this is a strength and a range Warframe. Not so much efficiency, strength and range. So you have to build for strength and range. Depending on how far you want the range to be, I would say the standard should be 145 at minimum, and if you wanted to hit further, it's up to you. It depends on what you're going for. If you believe 145 is fine, that's fine. It should be no less than 145, to be honest with you. And then you increase the duration with regards to not the first, but with regards to the third. The duration is important for the third, because the longer the blind stays on, the more the weakness and the damage multiplier they could take over time. If they're a beefy guy, if they're very beefy, it will take long for you to hit that critical spot that glows up on their body and for them to go down. And enemies aren't going to like wait around till you just kill this dude. They're going to be around you, still capping bullets at you at the same time. So you have to make sure the blind effect is affecting everyone within that 145 range. That's why I say 145 is about the mere minimum you would want to have for this Warframe. So when it comes to S tier Warframe, I'm always happy and giddy and talking a lot. But since I have 5 Warframes, I'm going to try to keep it as fast as possible and keep it moving. Oh, that's already there. I'm trying to get this all done. She's a very squishy Warframe. So in this case, you would need more armor than you need anything else. Shields is okay. Well, let's see what her shields is. Shields are fine. I'll give her some more armor. Another reason why I can possibly consider her to be S+, she's very squishy. Plus her health is not that great either. Even with 2 health mods, this is health and this is health on, she's still in the 800 range. Of course, if I had put the other one on, her health would have gone up to 1,000, and her shields would have gone up, her armor would still stay there. Remember, enemies have to shoot through your armor to get to your health first. If your armor is weak, they could get to your health really fast, really quick. Corrosive is simply a way of getting past your armor to get straight to your health. Or enemies that have a status effect will have to bump through the armor first, then to get to the health first. So if your armor is weak, it's faster for them to get to that health. So it's important to have armor than it is to have shields, especially since status effect doesn't give a damn about shields when it could go straight through shields. So that said, or at least some of it can. Let's continue on forward. Efficiency, I might need something to give her just a slight bit of health for the third. This should be worked just fine. Don't really need that. You don't really need a lot of efficiency. Another reason why she's S minus is that you don't really need a lot of efficiency for the first ability, which is the main one that you need to look out for. Once that all 4 of those things are casted on the ground, or all 3, they're permanently on the ground, and they will not disappear until the time has passed for them to disappear over time, which means it takes a very long time for them to disappear. And it's not based on, it's not fully based on duration. Well, it's based on buff duration, but for them staying on the ground is far longer than that. So 45 seconds is extremely long anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Moving forward, let's see what else I need. More strength. Yes. For the big boys, you need more strength. Should I? Oh yes, I don't need that much duration, like I said before, so I'm gonna go with this. And I don't need that much efficiency because the first does not require that much efficiency, but I do need more than 45. So I'm thinking to myself, alright, well, this sucks. Or I'm going to test something. I'm going to keep it at 45 and see how effective Energy Nexus would work with this. I think this is fine. If it doesn't work, I throw this in there. And of course, a little bit extra strength just to boost it up. Well, she is kind of a weakling, so I might need more of this than strength. But it does give me, actually, now I think about it, the strength multiplier does increase over time per each kill. Alright, so we'll see what we will do with this. We'll work it, go straight into mission. I have energize here. More energy, more energy, more energy. Even though efficiency is low, I'm getting energy everywhere. Oh, one other thing. It's a switching ability. The first ability is a switching ability. It's very important to remember. Molt, haste, shock. You have to switch between each of them to use them. So, like I said before, whenever you have an ability that requires you to switch back and forth, you need to switch, customize your controller for whatever you want to replace or put in place for that thing. So here for sprint, since it's an A ability, the sprint is not an A ability, that's safe. You exit out, and the switching works just fine. Third ability is like a godsend ability, and it's very good when it comes to strength as well. Third and first. You subsume the second ability, you're pretty much like extremely strong. This Warframe can go beyond 2 hours. Beyond an hour and a half by herself, I believe. And beyond 2 hours with a team. But if you subsume an ability, she could go by 2 hours straight by herself alone.
This research could have unimaginable repercussions. Be on your guard.
Let's go on the offensive.
Alright, this is the first. I don't mind them hitting me because it's now taking effect. They can do jack squat. Just don't stay in place, just walk around them. Let them come within the location. Hide if you must.
Excellent work. You have managed to thwart potentially dangerous discoveries from being fully realized.
See what I mean?
For now.
You can keep doing this because when you're aim gliding, you're invisible. Another little passive she has. She's invisible while she's aim gliding. See, I just survived that. I just survived that doing absolutely nothing but aim gliding and using their first ability to shock them. They could do nothing. These are all enemies that are beyond level 110 or 120. So, if you're having issues fighting level 80 enemies, I would suggest go with the build I have. Or something similar to it. Where's this thing? Okay. So that was the first, so I'll use the second. It's not really good, to be honest with you. That's the second. Whatever direction you're pointing it, it goes in that direction and the enemies shoot towards it. Really kind of useless, to be honest with you. Now I'll do another mission, and then I'll use the third and the fourth. And the second, like the fourth, like the second, is kind of useless. It's only useful if you have like 300 and so power strength. You just eat up a lot of energy with the fourth. You only use the fourth when you have no choice but to use the fourth. As you can see, even though I only have 45% efficiency, it was no big deal when you cast it the first time of the first ability, because to cast all four requires you just to use that amount of energy for all three of those first ones.
Their rage is vehement,
so,
their focus impressive.
Like if you see my energy right now, it's at 220 something. If I cast 1, 2. It is taking energy to cast each of them, but it should be no big deal, because in time, slowly, I have Energize on, and I also have Energy Siphon on with Coaction Drift, and I also have the mod on for returning energy over time.
I'm still detecting a lot of infestation activity. Let's clean it up.
So energy shouldn't be a problem. And the best part, the little things that are circling you will stay on you until its duration period. Here's the thing that's weird about this. They don't go away at all. They don't go away at all. It's just the buff duration goes away over time and you have to cast it again. It stay on you. That's why people love it. They love this Warframe. It doesn't go away. It just stays there. So I'll use the third ability if I see an enemy. See, now it went away because the buff duration already ran out. So, that little indication on there is a weak spot. You hit that weak spot, and it's good to go. They can't see you when you aim glide. And if you must use the fourth ability, but it does take up a lot of energy. So that's pretty much Wisp in a nutshell. The first ability allows her to move very fast. The first ability also allows her to get health back in return. So if you're taking a lot of damage, as long as your power strength is high enough, you're getting a lot of health back high enough. The first ability also stuns an enemy. So it not only increases your speed, but it also stuns the enemy. It also gives you health back in return. It also gives you shields back in return. So I'll show it. Very helpful Warframe. Her first ability is like 3 abilities in one. That's why I would consider her at an S level Warframe. So, Vitality mode, Haste mode, Shock mode. Shock shocks the enemy and increases your speed. Haste does the multiplier, and of course, Vitality increases your health over time. So you get speed multiplier, you get the shocked enemy along with status effect, and of course health is seconds over time. So it's like 3 abilities in one. So that was Wisp in a nutshell. Next, moving on to the next, Wukong. Okay, so this is Wukong. So I won't say too much about Wukong because he's not. I wouldn't say he's complicated just like Lavos is, but he's not really that complicated if you think about it. He's a single base target Warframe, and his main function is melee. And why that might be a turn off for a lot of people, because they might not want enemies to get close to them while they're killing them. It's not really that much of a turn off at all, because his critical damage with regards to using his melee is the highest, either the highest or the second highest in the game. So his character invites you to do melee. If you're not doing melee with Wukong, then you're really wasting your time. His whole point, his whole thing is melee. So he's built to do nothing but damage multiplier and health multiplier over time, because he gets up close and personal with his enemies. He has to get health back in return, because he gets up close and personal. Otherwise he will die all the time every time he rushes to go to kill the enemies. That's why his kit is designed for him to get health multiplied over time, damage multiplied over time, crit multiplied over time. A lot of people like to use him because they could kill enemies real quick with him, like really quick, and they don't have to worry about dying, because he kills enemy ridiculously fast, even if they're beyond level 100. So that's first ability. This is second abilities. You build this Warframe for duration and strength. Duration and strength. Not so much range, mostly duration and strength. That's what you build this Warframe for. Duration and strength. It's good to have somewhat range, but range isn't really that much of a factor with this Warframe. Duration and strength is the main thing with regards to this Warframe, and some efficiency. Some range and some efficiency, but it's duration and strength. As long as you have high duration and as long as you have high strength, you're golden with this Warframe. And as long as you're managing your efficiency and you manage your range, then you're all good. So that's the first, that's the second, this is the third. Use I would say out of this third ability is very helpful and it's very imperative, but you have to know how to use it, and it's imperative to always use natural talent with this Warframe, because it takes long for him to cast his abilities. So a mod that is essential for this Warframe to have on is natural talent. That way every time you use the Phi, you could cast it multiple times over and over and over again. Which is very important because it does armor multiplication towards your character, and it does armor duration towards your character, and it does damage multiplier. That's at a ridiculous rate, 9.75, and depending on your power strength, that multiplier goes up. It could go up to 15, it could go up to 20. I've never got it past 15, to be honest with you, because I never wanted to just dive purely into power strength. I wanted to balance things off with regards to his character, or at least have more duration. So that said, it's very important to have at least a good amount of physical strength and duration for this character. So I'll show all his abilities, and of course his fourth ability is Primal Fury, which is his most powerful ability because it just makes him go ham on everyone and everything around him. he does his damage, his energy is drained per second. The only bad thing about his fourth ability is that energy is drained per second while this ability is on. And the reason why that's happening is because it's such a powerful ability that the moment he put it on, he starts killing everything within a very in combinations, or like he does combos using his ability, which allows him to get a lot of critical damage on his enemies. The damage is not that high, but the crits by using the fourth ability is extremely high once it's on. Especially if the speed is on the character increase over time. Depending if you're with another Warframe that has a speed multiplier on this Warframe, he does a lot of damage. So his third, here's the thing. These are his best abilities. His first is not so much great, but it's the only one that does health multiplier. His second is also not that much great, but it allows you to be invisible for long periods of time. It does stun, and it does health meter multiplication over time. So in many ways, the third, second, and the fourth ability are his best abilities, and the first is his weakest. But if you really think about it, all of them are very good. All of them are very good, and all of them are needed. Because one, the Celestial Twin is a good distraction, and it allows for you to multiply your health over time and boost your damage, which is very good. Which you're probably saying to yourself, it's not that good because the duration sucks and it lasts for just a short time. If you give him godly amounts of duration, it does last for a very long time, as well as the stun with regards to that. That's good. But if you really think about it, the first one is probably the weakest, and the second, third, and the fourth are the strongest. So, or it's the first, the third, and the fourth are the best. So depending on who you are. So this is a very friendly Warframe with regards to this, what you decide is best for him. This is an A+, or should I say this is an S+ Warframe, simply because any of these abilities can be subsumed for one that's better to increase how this Warframe performs in combat. I would say, even though this is an S+ Warframe, I would say, in my opinion, this is just an S Warframe, not really an S+, simply because he's limited to just, his powers are limited to just melee itself, and the fact that he doesn't have something that could, I would say, he doesn't have like a huge amount of shields, or he doesn't have something to return shields back in time. But here's the thing, this is what I'm thinking. Hey, none of that crap matters. That's what I'm saying. He's anywhere from an S to an S+, because none of that crap matters. If you have your weapon, and your weapon is strong, and your weapon is used for shooting, whether it's melee weapon, secondary, or third, then you could kill enemies using your weapons during that period. But if you just want to go ham and using his personal powers, he could switch off and ignore your weapons and use his own personal power weapons in order to kill people and go ham, because it also does damage multiplier over time. His powers also do damage multiplier over time and health over time. So that's the great thing about it. So I'll have to deal with that later. Prisma Guard. Moving forward, I'll use this all in combat and see how it works. But first, let's see. That's what I figured. Strength is not that great. Now, if you had a maxed out Fury, I would decide to put that on because that's critical hits allow for 60% more melee damage over time. You don't really need this, but in all truth, since I'm going for full ham with regards to power strength here, giving him nothing but power strength, is the reason why I don't need Dreamer's Bond, because Dreamer's Bond takes away one's power strength. Or is it the other one? Let me see. I am going melee, so I should switch to melee, since this is a melee based Warframe. And since my... yeah, okay. I'm gonna put that there. And yeah, I think this is it would drain energy per second. That's a lot of drain. It's not very good. Alright, I don't like that at all. Since you're taking since it's taking a lot of energy per second. I don't want to take away from duration, but I also don't want to lower. Let me try something. And damage to the body returns energy over time if I'm not going to have efficiency here. And since I believe that's good enough, I'm going to increase my duration just a little bit more. And well, okay, so here's the thing. If I had given this character, this Wukong, both Umbras, then I would have enough capacity for here. So let's pretend that I did give him Umbras, which then I'll be able to keep that that power one here, or keep coaction drift here, or knock down a knockdown mount like sure-footed here. And then I will also be able to fill in the spot for, of course, rolling guard or adaptation in order to resist an effect. And that's how that goes. You get to have 200 here, you have to have 200 here, you have to have natural talent, you get to have energy, and you get to have this as well. But I always say, well, if he's casting a lot, then this will run out in time. And plus, if you're thinking about how much energy you will get back, fill with this is questionable. It depends. It really depends. Do you want to go with flow? You want to go with prime flow, because arcane energize only give you I believe 150 energy over time, and of course flow only allows you to have 100 energy added towards your energy pool. So you will always get a full amount of energy, but this has this amount. So I'm going to go with prime flow with this one, and I'm going to imagine that I put in enough umbras here in order to fill the spot, so I could put sure-footed here or coaction drift. And then we'll go with regards to this, and then you'll check out how this are. This, see, the multiplier went up to 4.2 for health, and of course this also went up as well from where it was to about 1, 2, all the way to like 3, and damage went up as well to about 15. So I usually keep it at around 15 anyway. I don't take it all the way up to 20 because I try to balance the character off with regards to other things as well. But if you subsume, I would say, if you're going to subsume, I would say subsume the first ability, and if you don't want to subsume the first, I would say you would subsume the second ability. But a lot of people like the second as well as the third, so if you're going to subsume something, it would probably be the first. So that's Wukong in a nutshell. So I'll switch back to options I had from Wisp, and I'll put him. And another thing about him, you don't have to. He doesn't have the multiple switch abilities. He just have single abilities, so you don't have to worry about switching over and over again. Now there is a mod, Syndicate mod you could put on Wukong in order to do crowd control, because he's not really like a crowd control Warframe, but he does have a crowd control Syndicate mod that is very effective and helpful, especially when enemies get too close to him.
Reinforcements are inbound.
See, with
Hold the line.
natural talent on this Warframe, it takes less than 2 seconds for him to duplicate himself. And the same for his second ability. And the same for his third ability. So, it's very important to have natural talent on this Warframe, because it takes him forever to cast the ability.
For the tenor.
Now, a thing to remember about Wukong is that if you're using your primary weapons, your twin will switch to its melee and use melee. If you switch to your melee, your twin will switch to its primary. So if you're trying to keep your twin alive, use the most powerful weapon you know that will keep him alive as fast as possible. Because this might not do the work, because he will always charge in towards his enemies, and you want to keep him alive. Best to always use a type of weapon that is effective with 100% guaranteed contact for your enemies. No misses whatsoever. This weapon is not really a great weapon to use for Wukong, his twin, but it is a very powerful weapon, so I don't mind giving it to him. You want to always make sure he has a shooting weapon on. Melee weapon might kill him too quickly.
Come on.
What Cloud Walker does is allow him to traverse large areas at extremely fast pace. So if you have natural talent on, it not only makes him do Cloud Walker, well, his strength makes him move fast. And you could decide when you want to come down, or you could stay in the air, especially if you're taking a lot of damage. Move around and decide when you want to come off. Its time period for its duration, I believe, is almost about a good 5 seconds. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, because that feels more than 5 seconds. Oh, it says 5 seconds, or about around 5 seconds. So his fourth and his third are his best abilities. His fourth and his third. His twin is only for crowd control, but his fourth and his third are his best abilities. This is his third.
Move and strike. We have to win this.
Now the twin will never go away and never die until his health has fully been destroyed. This is the third. You could decide when you hit, or you could stay like this. You can move around and you decide when you hit them. Or you could wait for it to run out, just like the second ability. It's a very, very effective Warframe. Allows him to escape out of battle real quick. Allows him to get behind the enemy and kill him real fast. Escape, retaliate. Fourth ability is the best. Because when you put on the fourth, your twin also puts on the fourth. So it's really both two people doing critical damage. Now you must build the fourth for efficiency, which means you cannot use your fourth too many times if you don't have 175 efficiency, because it does drain energy per second. So the moment you see your bar is full of energy at the lower right, that's when you use your fourth, never at halfway marker, because it drains per the second. So if you don't have 175 efficiency, always use your fourth either at the halfway marker or at the full meter marker of full energy. His fourth also does a combo. Where is he? There he is. He's pretty much a boss killer. If you give him power strength, he's a boss killer. Mainly for his third and his fourth. So this is anywhere from this is an S tier Warframe. I would say anywhere from an S minus to about an S. I would consider him an S minus to about an S. It's hard for me to see him as an S plus, but if you subsume one of his abilities, he becomes S plus. So he's generally just standard at base S minus. Why he's S minus is because all his abilities work, and also you're not fully dependent on all those abilities, and plus your clone mimics everything you do, so the moment you use your fourth, it does fourth as well. Plus there's that syndicate mod. If you add that syndicate mod to Wukong's twin, it does a Rhino Stomp ability. Something similar to a Rhino Stomp ability, which then crowd controls all the enemy. Oh, I forgot these guys are already under control with that thing over his head. Okay. So if you give him that syndicate mod, let's say you don't have enough power strength, but if you give him that syndicate mod, what that syndicate mod does is a stomp on the ground like this. That slam on the ground. So you press the button once for your first ability with the twin on by holding it down. It does, depending on your range, it does a Rhino Stomp ability, which then lifts everyone up into the air, which is an incredibly powerful ability. So he basically does his Rhino Stomp. Another reason why he's S tier. His abilities allow him to travel anywhere on the map. It means he could go all the way up into the sky. Anywhere. He's not limited to his terrains with his second abilities.
It is done.
Another reason why he's S tier. So, in all truth, this Warframe could survive more than an hour and 30 minutes by himself, and in the group, he'd probably be able to go more than 2 hours. So that's one of the reasons why he's S tier. He could go more than 130 by himself. So that was Wukong, an incredible Warframe. He's a boss killer, basically. If you give him enough strength, he's a boss killer. Let's see. What else? Okay, so that was Whips. That was Wukong. This is Zaku. I did a build for Zaku before. He's another squishy Warframe, and I wouldn't consider him to be S tier. I consider one of his powers to be S tier, but not him himself. To me, Zaku's an A+ Warframe. If it wasn't for the fact that he's so squishy, he would be considered S tier. So which one was it? Zaku's whole kit is range, where Wukong's whole kit is duration and strength. Zaku's whole kit is range and strength and duration. Three things: range, strength, and duration. Or in his case, in my case, I just invest in more than duration and in range rather than strength. So if I were you, whoever you are, you would build Zaku more for range and duration rather than strength, because his abilities multiply based on the amount of guns he grab for range. If he has a large range, he could grab as many guns as possible, and those guns that he grab are what will give him enough firing power, guns doing firepower based on his amount that he grabs over a large range, to give him the strength that he needs. So even he doesn't really require strength, he just requires a lot of range to grab a lot of guns in order to do so, to substitute for one strength. Okay, so yeah, this is the subsume one. Okay, let me go to the right one. That was the first one. That was subsume one. Okay, this might not be the subsume one. Let's see. Nope, that's the subsume one as well. Let's see if A. Okay, yeah, A is not subsume one, but A is hot garbage with regards to range. It needs more range. And duration. Range, more range, please. Do I have stretch on? No. Okay, so range, duration, and I guess I could give him a little bit of strength up here. That's fine. Alright, so this is Zaku. Basically, this is his first ability. Oh, great. I subsumed that one too. Oh, for Christ's sakes. Alright, so I guess the first ability is shitty. The reason why I got rid of it, because Rebuild Shields is a subsume ability as well. So apparently, the first ability is bad. I don't remember what it was, but it must have been bad for me to subsume it. So the best abilities are the second, third, and fourth abilities. Those are the three. I wouldn't consider this to be a S tier Warframe, maybe A plus at best. Why? Is because of ability 3 and ability 4. What ability 4 and ability 3 does, they kind of do like a combination thing, effect that they have, more like ability 2 and ability 4, but ability 3 works very well as well. So what happened is, what you do is you cast ability 4 first, and you cast ability 2 in conjunction to that. Or what you do is you take do a lot of damage to the enemy using your weapons, and then you cast ability 2 first, if I remember clearly, because you have to damage the enemy enough for them to be weak so you could grab all their stuff. You say, well, that kind of sucks, I have to wait for them to be weak. It's like, that's one of the reasons why I have them as A plus. If you need to, if you don't have enough ability strength, you need to weaken them enough for you to grab their weapons. But the great part is, if you're moving around a lot and you're doing damage with a powerful weapon, that's no problem. You'll be able to grab it over time, no problem. So everything that dependent on this Warframe is range, strength, and duration. If you're not using strength, it's range and duration, because you want the duration to last for a very long time. Of the second ability, because the second ability is what grabs their weapons, and it allows you to hold on to their weapons for as long as your duration lasts. And the amount of targets, it says right here that it could be affected, are 15. Now let's see if I remove the range. Let's see how much targets can now be affected. It says 13. So you could go all the way to 20 if you want. I believe it could go, in all truth, I believe it's a maximum of 18, if I'm not 100% certain. I'll see right now. There are 3 mods you use. One, 2, 3, and 4. No, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 280. I believe 280 is the max you could go in the game. Maybe there's another mod that has been added to allow, but I've always thought that 280. Yeah, so there's no point to really have 280, because you only go up by one enemy more. It says 16. It was at 15. So you don't really need this, because it will just go down to 15 just by 1 point. So there's no reason to really have that. So that's what I said to myself, well, I don't really need that. I'll put some strength in that position, or I'll put short-footed if I get knocked down. So in that case, I always use short-footed in that place. So you have to have enough capacity to put short-footed there. Short-footed requires 16. So you would need to have both these slots. And the reason why I'm saying this is because 16 is the highest I believe it goes to, and you want to at least have short-footed here, because if an enemy knocks you down onto the ground, you're screwed, because they gap you the moment you hit the ground, which is bad. So you always want to have the slot. So I always take 165 instead of a full 280, or what I do is I put the full 280 and allow for myself not to get knocked down by using said companion or operator in process. But you really have to predict when you need to use your operator to not get down, and a lot of people don't know how to do that, or how to use their Kavat pet or their sentient pet in order to not allow you to get knocked down. So I typically just keep it at 165 just as default for my own sanity. So that said, I'll move and I use Zaku ability and use all of them in combat and show how it works.
This will only get more difficult. Get to a terminal and prepare for enemy resistance.
Come on.
Okay, I was right. Cast the first, but it won't work. Yep, it would burn. That was the first ability called Pillage. It's not Zaku's original power, it's just the first ability.
Terminal hacked. Keep moving.
For the moments.
I sometimes get confused with the abilities. I'm trying to remember them. I don't know why I thought the first ability was actually the second. You're playing Warframe for so many years, you start forgetting things. Because you're literally trying to remember the abilities of every single Warframe that exists. Okay, so second ability is what pillaged their weapons.
Go on the offensive.
There it is. So I now have 4 enemy weapons. I'm gonna get more than that. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 enemy weapons. So this is why you don't really need power strength, because the second ability is doing all the heavy lifting. You don't even have to interact with the enemy. Just run away from them. Hello. Just run away from them. And it'll just do all the lifting. It does all the heavy lifting. My, you're trying so hard.
Let's go.
The enemy is just trying so hard. I feel so sorry for you. You poor thing. Okay. So, that was the first and that was the second ability. This is the third. It's a switching ability. Once you have a switching ability, find a button that works for your switching abilities. I'm going to use my sprint to replace my switching ability, which is my C ability. And as stated, the switching ability is this. It has three different ones: accuse, gaze, and deny. So if you want deny damage,
We will counter.
fine. If you want damage reduction, fine. It really depends on what you're looking for. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to keep him exactly where he is. And I'm going to switch to a more effective one, while at the same time using second ability to strip enemies of their weapons.
Move and strike. We have to win this.
The preferred range is like 280, but if you can't get to that 280, I always recommend Okay, so here's where the fourth ability comes in. After you cast your second ability, you then put on the fourth.
But we did it.
What the fourth ability does, it stuns everything in place so you can use your second ability. As is stated here. It shreds the enemy piece by piece and destroys. He turns into a skeletal form. A lot of void enemies is done towards the enemy. So basically what it does is it slows the enemy down, does damage over time, and shreds armor over time at the same time. Second ability doing all the heavy lifting. You literally could be running away from enemy while they're chasing you and they're going to be capped in the face while you're running away. So, suggestions to use this Warframe: strip enemies' weapons, cast 4 to do armor reductions and slowing them down, and that's how that works.
It is done.
Second and fourth best abilities. Alright? If you're having a hard time killing an enemy, what you do is you cast the fourth on them. Casting the fourth on them directly after you taking their weapon allow you to slow them down, allow you to do more damage and shred armor and take less damage over time. Third ability is simply kind of an assistance towards your weaknesses. So we'll look at it again, just to clearly define what it is. Fourth ability. Shreds the outer pieces of Zaku into destructive blasts. It might not seem like that's a great thing, but it comes in play very greatly down the road. And stalks the battlefield in a new, swifter skeleton form. Enemies damaged by body shrapnels are rendered weaker by void damage. Zaku's other active abilities duration is frozen in time and resumes once the vast on time expires. And that's how that works. Oh, I forgot about that. Another reason why I would say this is anywhere from, like, you know, a B plus to a A plus Warframe, or depending on if you subsume and become my S minus. I don't believe he's S minus, I believe he's A plus. I forgot that he could freeze his second ability in time. I completely forgot about that. So like I said, what you do first, you take all their weapons, and once all their weapons are taken from them, you not only are shredding their armor using the fourth, depending on your range, you're now freezing your second abilities, which means you're freezing the duration time of your second abilities. So let's say you cast your fourth ability at the 10-second marker. The 10-second marker is now frozen in time until the fourth ability's duration run out. So you have to wait for the full 66.25, no, the full 44.75 seconds to run out before that final 10 seconds run out. Magnificent. You would consider that an S tier, but the fact that the second ability and the third are also questionable, but mainly the first is questionable and the third is very good. He has 3 very good abilities, makes him A plus. What makes him not S tier, in my opinion, is the fact that he's squishy. He's he's like Mag. He's a squishy Warframe. His shield is weak. His armor is ridiculously weak. You would have to put on like 3 armor mods just to get his armor up to, like, say 400 to 500. So if he takes heavy damage, he will die over time, and that's one of the reasons why he's not S tier. He's a very limited Warframe. You would definitely want to subsume his first ability with something that's far better. I would consider him an A plus Warframe, but his Second and his fourth abilities are what makes him A+. Otherwise, if it wasn't for that frozen in time ability, this Warframe would probably be B+ at best. So that was Zaku in a nutshell. Very good Warframe. Very good Warframe. Frozen in time, I believe he and maybe Limbo has that frozen in time ability. No one else does. And of course, Zephyr and Ureli are the last. So because I don't like Ureli at all, she's gonna be the last. I don't like her. Even though Zephyr is the Z in the last letter of the alphabet, I really don't like her. So Ureli will be the last simply by default. And if my internet goes down, I don't care if I ever do the Ureli, to be honest with you. She's that bad. She's the only Warframe I would consider to be D Warframe. None of my Warframes in this list of rundowns has ever been in the D. At best, one was at C minus, C to C minus, but none of them have ever been in the D. Ureli is the Warframe I would say was once F, then went to D. She's now the only Warframe I would consider to be C minus. Every one of my Warframe are now C plus, B plus, B. She's the only Warframe that's extremely at the bottom of the totem pole after they rework her. She's now went from a D to a C minus. So I'm going to do Zephyr before her because she is the worst Warframe. She's going to be the last. So this is Zephyr. I'm just going to show his four abilities this time, use them in combat, and then explain them thereafter. I'll pick a build that's more satisfactory to what he represents, which is this one. And since this is not really about build, it's more about abilities, I'll describe them after I use them in combat. So, oh yeah, almost forgot. Every time you switch on Warframe's ability, you have to remember to go back to your controls and put it back to its original state. Because not all Warframe has that hold down button or switch ability thing. Some Warframe just has base standard 4 abilities. Zephyr is one of those. Okay, so first thing to remember, this is a duration based Warframe, strength based Warframe, range based Warframe. 3 things to always remember: strength, duration, range. Which are the most important out of the 3? Strength and range. Strength and range. With more power strength, he could traverse distances at incredible speed, equal to that of Volt. Range, depending on how far you want him to go, is ungodly. If you build for range, you could defend against any bullet attacks coming your way. However, I would say if you're not doing capture targets, you don't need that much range, but you do need a lot of duration. So it depends on what type of mission you're doing. My main thing is to always have lots of duration, tons of duration. That's my thing. Ungodly amount of duration, lots of strength, and then a decent amount of range. That way I have 190 range, so I could be able to defend against any attack. But duration is the key to this Warframe, more than anything. Duration and strength.
And keep it in one piece. Okay, scrubbing the system.
before the Lotus.
Nearly done. Keep defending, please. Systems clean. Great work. Keep moving. You found a terminal. Pop the data mass in there and defend it. Okay, scrubbing the system.
So, the third ability is what I just cast on. That's his shield. It has decent amount of range, so he could take any amount of damage coming towards him. However, it doesn't repel every single damage. It only repels damage in front of him. So damage coming from the left, right, at the far left or right, or behind him, he will feel it. Only damage from in front of him. The third ability also multiplies his reload speed over time and firing rate. So his third ability is his best abilities. Second and fourth are his second best abilities. Firing rate has increased. Reload speed has increased.
This system's back online. Find us another.
So this Warframe really only has like 2 very good abilities. So I would say this is like a B minus Warframe at best.
Scrubbing the systems.
But if you format this Warframe for range and you give him that Syndicate mod, it now becomes an A minus Warframe. You'll be surprised what that corrosive mod or whatever the damage type mod that's you add from that Syndicate onto your fourth ability does. Or the color, I believe it's the color that you use on this Warframe. Like say if I want to wear colors of red, a red coated color Zephyr, then fire will be in the whirlwind. Or if I want to wear green, then corrosive will be in the whirlwind. It's very particular Warframe. Reload speed, firing rate.
Systems are waking up across a whole sector.
Yeah, I need the Syndicate mod in order to do that status effect on them.
You did good.
It's just shredding them without the status effect type.
Let's go.
So this is anywhere from a B minus to a B plus Warframe, but you can get it to an A minus if you put that Syndicate mod on and if you subsume an ability. So yeah, unfortunately, this I wouldn't really consider this to be an A plus level Warframe. Consider this to be more like B plus to about a A minus, but maybe not even A minus, like B plus Warframe. The Syndicate mod, and without the Syndicate mod and without the subsume abilities, it's a B plus Warframe. So his ability was very easy to understand. First ability allows him to move forward fast. Second ability allows for him to throw wind towards the enemy to knock them down and to shred them. Third ability allows for shields to be protecting Zephyr from the front at a 180 but not at a 360 from behind him or to the far left or to the far right. But that also depends on your range. The more range you have, the more you can protect your left and your right, but never fully your back. Fourth ability is also questionable at best and doesn't really kill enemies, more like a stun ability, but you will require your Syndicate mod in order to do so. So it's a good Warframe, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not like A plus level, S tier level. So I would skip this Warframe if you don't really have to use this Warframe. But if you want to use this Warframe for fun, or if you want to traverse, because this is one of the best Warframes for traversing, because she's like a bird, so she has insane amounts of air time and travel time in the air. So it's optional. It really depends on what you're looking for. And finally, the worst Warframe. I wouldn't say she is the worst. It's like they did fix her a little, but she's still, any Warframe that's at the bottom is the worst. You just gotta be real with yourself. And some people would say Zephyr is the worst. Like some people still have Zephyr as a C Warframe, but the reason why I say she's the C minus Warframe and Zephyr is like a B minus or to a B plus. Simply because the first ability is okay at best, because they have tons of Warframe that does this ability, like stuns enemies and does damage per second over time. There are so many that are far better at this ability than her. So I never understand why they gave her kind of a similar thing. The only thing I would say that this ability does that's different from other Warframe is that it does damage per second over time from the stun, where some abilities you just stun and there's a damage that comes with the stun. This is damage over time that they're taking while they're being stunned, and damage invulnerability is 224%. So that might sound very good, because I think they reworked that a little to add that there, or maybe it was always there and I never paid attention to it. Then there's her second ability, which basically allows her to jump on top of this type of creature. I don't even care to know its name. I know the name is Marilena. But I don't really care, because it's basically like a hoverboard. The hoverboard you get, or it's like the hoverboard or Archwing you get, but it's a hoverboard and an Archwing that comes with perks, which is kind of really sucky, because when you're in a mission, you're moving from left to right, back and forth. You're shooting enemies. It's very hard to shoot enemies when you're on that thing, because you can use your weapons when you're on that thing to do damage, but you're trying to traverse, you're trying to run up the stairs, down the stairs, so you have to turn the damn thing off in order to take control of your body, because it's so fickle and it doesn't work good in tight corners. So its second ability, even though it does damage reduction, like a great amount of damage reduction, which is very good, 90% is extremely good, its Achilles is the fact that it imbalances your ability to aim. Like if you're aiming at an enemy, you have to slow down being on this thing so you could aim properly, because it's moving at such a fast speed. So even though it's doing good stuff, it's also an Achilles at the same time. Her third ability, which is also not that great, allows a bubble to spin around her and does damage to enemies over time. I would say this is her worst ability out of all of them because it's the same thing that Gyre does. It doesn't really affect enemies until you reach the enemies. So an enemy that's sniping you from far away could kill you before you even reach to them because you have to get to them while this is spinning around you. So I was like, oh dear God. Alright, and finally, last but not least, then there's her fourth ability, which I would say is probably her best ability. Questionable at best, but it's probably her best ability. It drags enemy into a... The music's so loud. Alright, let me lower the music for this last one, since this is the last Warframe. Been yelling over the music the whole damn time. Alright, so Riptide drags enemies, crushing Maelstrom, and then blows them away in a watery burst. Each enemy trapped in the vortex increase the burst damage. Okay, so if you don't have a lot of enemies to trap, there's not a lot of burst vortex to happen. Basically, that's what it's basically telling you. If you have two enemies, it's only going to increase by those two. So you require range for this Warframe to be effective, so it could pull enemies in and then do a burst outwards. But here's the thing, like, the burst damage outward is not great enough to kill them. It's just great enough to do damage towards them. They hit the ground, then you have to cast the ability again to finish them off. So it's not like it's a one shot, one kill thing. It's I don't see the point of having this ability at all. I mean, if you look at what it's saying, it says duration is 12 seconds. It doesn't last for a long time. His range is pretty good. His damage is pretty good. 3,000 is pretty damn good. It's very good. Damage increase enemies is good. 50% is very good. Damage per second is 600. So it's good, but it feels like a Nidus ability. He sucks all the enemies in. Damage happens over time, and then it bursts outwards. It's nothing really special. It's like another Warframe's ability, the multiple Warframe's ability, and she's using the same damn thing. So when they created this Warframe, is that they created this Warframe thinking about other Warframes and using other Warframe's abilities, rather than her having her own thing. The whole skateboard thing is from hoverboards in Warframe, when they thought about her. Like, no. The whole thing spinning around her, that was something I believe they were thinking about. Okay, how could we, use like shred of enemy's armor on a character that's moving? Like, sure, that sounds great and it's wonderful, but they're not considering enemies that are trying to shoot you from a distance. So it's not like it's protecting her body, her head, and her legs. It's just shredding them when it gets in contact with them. It's not like a shield, like it's actually shielding her. It's just doing damage to the enemy over time. So it's not really a shield around her. So it's kind of stupid. So let me just use this damn thing and finish this Warframe off. She has like one ability that's really good. Or if you really think about it, because they've now fixed her, she has two abilities now that are good. Her first and I guess you could say her fourth. I'm not doing interception with her. It will fail.
It is time. I will teach these trespassers the redemptive power.
So like I said, if the internet goes down, I don't really care. This is the only Warframe I don't really mind if I don't say everything about her in full. That's how bad I think she is. In all truth, Zephyr and her are pretty bad. But the only reason why I prefer Zephyr is because I could understand Zephyr's abilities pretty good, and they kind of function pretty good. and they don't really piss you off like they piss her second ability on
The
her
enemy
little
is at our doorstep.
skateboard
You must
pisses you
defend our
off.
equipment until reinforcements arrive.
Transference signal strong. We're ready for battle.
I'm down.
The lieutenant.
We are readying reinforcements. Keep fighting, Tenno.
What the hell? Oh, radiation. Radiation. Yeah. Yeah, these guys weren't considering the radiation. The guy that was playing Frost was considering the radiation, but the others probably weren't considering the radiation. You need someone like Trinity in party for that. You need a healer. You can't just have people who aren't healers, so I'll pick a different mission. I wonder how that guy died so fast. The radiation got him. I don't think Ureli fully sucks. I just think she has two very sucky abilities. That's the reason why, at best, I could put her as a C minus. "39 meters is not that bad. Not that great either. Let me see. Try this again. "180. Yeah. At 39 meters is it's like a 180. Another reason why she's not that great. She's a forward Warframe. It's not like a 360.
That's it. You opened the relic. Finish your mission and we'll take a look inside.
And here's where I'm gonna prove why it sucks. Now, let's say if you're slowing down to aim towards an enemy, a boss or something. You're like this. You're moving to the left, right to try to get out of damage. You flip out the way. You aim glide. Just to try to, you're trying to aim down sights. See, aim down sights while you're on this thing. It sucks because you cannot aim down sight properly because it's moving too damn fast. So if you're aiming towards his head, you won't be able to get to a headshot fast while you're on this thing. And plus the traverse, you have to understand how to traverse around objects. You always have to like jump onto stairs or move around things. It's no big deal, it's just that it's an annoyance when you're aiming down sights. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, your primary and secondary weapons, you can't use them while you're on the damn thing. If you notice, I'm not using them. I try to use them.
The enemy is broken.
You can't use them.
Well done. Now get to extraction.
So, yeah, like, what the hell's the point? See? Now I could use them. Can't use them when you're on the damn thing. It would be... the Warframe would have been in the B plus area, or the B... at least in the B minus, if it had that capability to use them, but it doesn't. It's kind of stupid. And then there's a third ability. Goes around her. You have to reach the enemy in order for it to take effect. If the enemies are over here and over here, they're all capping you. You know, it's not a shield. They'll still be shooting you in your head and in your body. And then your fourth ability, just pull enemies into this huge bubble. That's why I say the fourth and the first are probably the best abilities. The little hoverboard and the third aren't really nothing special to write home about. It really is a pointless Warframe. It feels like this Warframe feels like they build it just for fun. That it really doesn't serve an identity and individual purpose that feels like its own. It doesn't feel like a Warframe that's its own thing. It feels like a Warframe that's was grabbed from other Warframes to build simply out of fun. From what I remember, Pablo created this Warframe simply because he loved kawaii anime and stuff. He's like, are you serious, Pablo, man? It's like, sometimes I want to smack Pablo for creating Ureli. I was like, you diss anime by creating this Warframe. You diss anime by creating this Warframe. Because anime is like a godly type of universe thing. If you're going to create a character based on anime, the anime character has to be badass to the level to respect what the word anime is. So, yeah. I never understand his logic. I mean, if you're going for kawaii anime, you have to pick the most kawaii anime of all kawaii animes and pick the powers of that kawaii animes equal towards the cuteness. Like, if you're gonna go cuteness, do it like freaking Railgun. I mean, not Railgun, Honkai Star Rail. Go kawaii like Honkai Star Rail. When I was playing Honkai Star Rail demo, which is not really a demo, it's a free-to-play game. I was playing Honkai Star Rail. That girl's power, that was kawaii. That should have been Ureli. Be like, what the fuck, Pablo? You're like, dude, do you really like anime? You're kind of dissing everyone who likes anime. So that's why she's at the bottom as well. Because it's like a diss towards anime by having this character. It's like, I don't like her. She doesn't respect anime by just existing. It's like, I know this dude watch anime, but I'm thinking, is this dude really into anime? Because nobody who was into anime would ever create this character. Ever. I'll be like, the hell out of here. Like, hey, you want to create a character based on anime? Why don't you go Guts from Berserk? The whole world will go crazy if they have the Berserk Warframe. Like, get rid of Varuna. She's a shitty example of a Berserk Warframe because she's supposed to be like a Berserk version of Warframe, like her. She's supposed to be like this Berserker type that does melee, or Wukong, who does melee. Wukong that does melee is kind of like a Berserk because he uses a weapon as a melee weapon. Now imagine someone that destroys these melee characters like Valkyr, Wukong, Varuna, with a big ass freaking sword, and every time hits the enemies like 10,000 damage or something. And when he keeps taking a lot of damage and keeps doing damage multiplier over time, his crit hits keeps going up and up and up and up and up until it gets to, you know, like immortal status. It would say immortal. Your crit is now immortal, which means it can't go any higher than this. You're like, that's the character they should have made for Verona and for Ureli. You know, it should have been the Berserk. If they were gonna go with Verona with a werewolf, she should have been basically a combination of Ureli and her combined and be a Berserk Warframe. So that's basically it. That's basically it. That's all the Warframes from the very first Warframe, which is Ash, all the way down to the last Warframe, which is Zephyr. I did a PlayStation video with regards to, I believe, who was it? Volt and Verona. So the PlayStation uploaded one of Volt and Verona is pretty damn good. Verona is very particular on Warframe. Not one of the best. I would consider her A as at best. But Volt, you know, if you stack those shields, with Volt, he could kill any enemy in this game, boss or whoever. So he's S tier for sure. So I believe that. Okay, so here's what it is. I've never really given a Warframe the S plus status. Some people say S plus. I don't believe there's any S plus Warframe because if you're talking non-subsumability, there's no S plus Warframe. So you would have to subsume something to make a Warframe S plus. There are S tier Warframes, S or S minus, but there's no S plus Warframe without a subsume to make that Warframe better. So the S Warframes will always be, in my opinion, and I'll name them off for you if you don't want to watch all those different videos. The S Warframes will always be the ones that could survive for 2 hours easy. And the ones that could survive for 2 hours easy should be the most obvious ones for many reasons. And I will state what they are. Okay, so let's see. Let's find them. Mag, S Warframe, survive for long. One of the squishiest Warframes of all times and could die quite easily. But the moment she casts that bubble, it really doesn't matter. You just have to watch out for those nullifiers, kill the nullifiers, and make sure they don't show up next to the bubble. Go for a long time in mission. The secret to Mag's survival is to have companions, or not companions, sentinels, or what do we call them? Specters. Specters next to Mag while you're in the mission by yourself. One for healing, an ancient healer, and another for buffing your armor. I would say not really for your armor, for buffing your shields. So if you bring someone like a Hildren type Spectre, and you bring like I said, ancient healer type Spectre, and you make sure you keep them protected from dying by having your bubble in front of them, you could last for a long time with this Warframe. So this is S tier Warframe. Also S tier Warframe. Loki. Also very squishy. It's very strange that the squishy ones are S tier. But if he could go invisible for a very, very, very long time, and you have natural talent on, they can't find him, so they can't kill him. As long as they can't find him, they can't kill him. Which means he could stay in any mission for an ungodly long amount of time without dying. Also S tier Warframe, I would say Limbo, because Limbo gives energy over time, and as long as you're not with a group of people that are pissing them off by using Limbo and stealing all the kills or blocking them from doing kills, he could live for a long time in combat. So Limbo is anywhere from an A plus Warframe to an S Warframe. Another S level Warframe, Mesa. It's beautiful that all the S are in one line right here. Mesa, very, very god tier Warframe. Also very squishy as well. If you want to subsume an ability, I would say subsume one ability that remove the limitations of her being squishy. Like the Nourish of Grendel's ability, you could subsume that and give it to her so she could always get health back over time, or armor. I forgot, it's damage reduction or something that Nourish does. And then of course she's Gali. She's basically a DPS and she kills everything. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's already 4 S tier Warframes. Another S tier Warframes. Avara. Avara, you just need 175 efficiency. Turn on her third ability. She stays in the mission, and her energy does not go down as long as you have. Very important to say this. as long as you have, where is it? As long as you have something that multiplies your energy over time. Because as long as she has 175 and her third ability solely is energy drain per second, as long as this is on, it's giving you energy per each second the energy is being drained. So she could basically stay in mission for a ridiculous amount of time without even taking damage. A single damage from enemy, or if she does take damage from enemy, is not going to kill her because she could always roll away. Another S tier Warframe would be considered to be is either Korra. I completely forgot. It's either Korra, Strangle Dome with Korra, which is a syndicate mod. I think I might have sold Strangle Dome. No, there it is. Pilfering Strangle Dome. You put Strangle Dome on this Warframe, she becomes S tier. Self-explanatory. Don't even need to explain it. You look up this Strangle Dome mod. It will save you a lot of headache by having that on. And of course, another S tier. Let's see. Nyx. Nyx and Neza, also S tier Warframes. Originally, I had Neza as A, but if you build this Warframe for having an ungodly amount of armor, wait, no, ungodly amount of, no, an ungodly amount of armor, there it is. Warding Halo, if you go beyond, I believe, damage absorption of, like, say, 10,000, how much I can, now I check that, you know what, I'll check that right now. I completely forgot how much. What is this game doing? See how much armor I would be able to get. Okay, I have just one more. Do I have one more? Yes, I have one more. Okay, so that's 348. That's a lot of strength. So let's see how much I have. That's 5,000. So if you could get 5,000 damage absorption, when you go into mission, obviously it'll be much higher than what you're seeing right here now. You will be able to tell. Basically, it absorbs a godly amount of damage, and of course, if you have a mod called Natural Talent, you put Natural Talent in here. Put Natural Talent in here. Well, I don't have enough because I did. If you put Natural Talent in here, it allows this Warframe to cast the ability faster. Obviously, you need your efficiency to be higher than 45, so you need to put an efficiency mod here. Or if you don't plan on using a lot of efficiency, you need to have energy over here in order to give yourself energy. Or the mod I was saying before, which is energy over time, which you would put here, which is good if you're going to have low efficiency. So energize over here, this over here, and one that you only really need to concern yourself that much about is this here. So that was Nessa. I don't want to get too much into that because every Warframe is very detailed. Of course, the one I was saying before was also Nyx, is also S tier. Another Warframe that's also S tier is also Nova, also not S plus but S. I would say Nova is the closest I would get towards calling S plus. No, not even, yeah, not even. So S, yeah, she would be S. And next Warframe, which would be considered S. Octavius will also be considered S, simply because, well, let me remember. Very good. Also very good. Not so good. Because you have to do you have to do this. You have to do this in order, or you have to do this to go invisible. And if you don't create your harmonization with regards to where is it? Did they change it up? I forgot, but it doesn't really matter. Wait, maybe they didn't change it up. Oh, there it is. Yeah, they did change it up. I completely forgot they made it its own thing, so you don't have to look for it. So if you don't make the tune, like when the beat, like if you hear a beat like dum 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 da dum dum da dum 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 da dum dum da dum dum da 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 dum da dum 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 dum. If you don't duck at the moment it says dum dum. If you don't duck at the moment it says dum dum, you won't go invisible. If you miss it, that's the reason why the third abilities kind of suck. Um, Even though it's an S tier Warframe, I would say this is an S minus Warframe because the third abilities suck. It takes a long time to go invisible. Not a lot of people want to deal with that bullshit. Who else is S tier? Revenant can be considered S tier as well. He kills a lot of bosses as well. Also S tier. Rhino can be considered S tier. He's very simple to use, very easy to use. You could turn on his second ability quite fast. It's one of the best beginners starting Warframe that allows you to survive from anywhere from level 1 enemies to level 100 enemies quite easy. But when you go past level 100, you might have to build on his whole form of survivability. Sarn is also S tier Warframe, one of the best Warframe. I would say she would have been S plus Warframe if it wasn't for the fact that actually she might be the only S plus Warframe. I think I might have found it because what Molt does when you're taking a lot of damage over time, Molt also not only damages the enemy by exploding when they shoot the molds, it also sheds the damaged skin that she's taking. Let's say she's down to 2% of health. She sheds her skin by using a second ability. In that instant, she gets back her health, back to full, and then her health returns back, like as it says right here. Health is 700, not completely full, 725. Health is returned the moment she sheds. So depending on what your Warframe health meter is 1,000. She will only get back 700, but that's more than enough for her to continue on over time. Of course, you will build the health over time as well to get back to 1,000 after pickups of enemies or depending on what you're subsumed for her, but never subsume Molt. In fact, never subsume Spores, Molt, and Toxic Lash. About the only thing I would say you would probably subsume is the fourth ability, but since you're unable to subsume the fourth of any Warframe, I believe they might have changed that, but it might still be the same. Fourth ability cannot be subsumed. This is the only Warframe I would say that is S plus because every one of her abilities work in conjunction to each other. Because what this fourth ability does is increases the spore damage multiplier. So if the spore has been multiplying and damaging enemies over time, the moment you use the third, which is also does an effect towards the first ability, and the enemy still doesn't die, you then cast the fourth again to even do more spore damage multiplication. So this is, I think she might be the only S plus Warframe out of all my Warframe, starting from base standard of A plus and without, see this is the great part, without subsume whatsoever or syndicate mods, this is an S level Warframe. So if you want to get her to S plus, you could put on syndicate mod or you could do a subsumancy S plus, but she's already at base standard in the S level, anywhere from A plus to S level. So this is my first ever S plus Warframe. I would say out of all Warframe, she's my first ever S plus. It's very complicated to use her because you have to know how to use her properly. She could go for 2 hours or more in a survival by herself, but you have to know how to use her. That's why I wouldn't recommend anyone using her unless they fully understand how to use her. So she is my only S plus Warframe that's within this entire roster. And she's also one of my top 3 of my favorite Warframes of all time. With Nyx, Sarn, and of course the third would be Trinity. It's either Nova or Trinity. So speaking of Trinity, she's also an S plus Warframe. If it's not Sarn, it's Trinity. Why Trinity is an S plus? 3 out of her 4 abilities are very good. Or as people would say, all of her abilities are good because her second and her first are in synergizing with each other. You strangle the enemies by having him locked in place. You cast energy vampire on him. He cannot die until you turn off the first ability. And you never want to turn off the first ability because you always want to get energy over time. And what that does, that gives you energy over time so you could keep casting your third ability and keep casting your fourth ability. So you build this Warframe for long duration. So this is one of the few Warframes that's also S+. If it wasn't for Sarn, Trinity would be my primary Warframe. But Sarn to me is just a little bit better because she's more helpful towards everybody as a crowd controller and a killer. She's a more DPS where this is more of a support. So Sarn will always be my best Warframe in our roster, and Nyx and Trinity following. Um, yeah, that's how that goes. And that said, what else? Who else? Who else is S tier? I would say Titania could be considered S tier, but to me she's more A plus. Her fourth ability is what's S tier, and that's pretty much all there is to that. Vauban is A plus. Volt, as I said, is also S tier, starting from A, uh, or starting from B. He rose to about A, and he's now set as an S tier because he's more like the best god killer or the best boss killer because he has those stackable shields. And also S plus Warframe, or should I say also S tier Warframe is Wisp. Wisp was also a S tier Warframe. Starting from C, she worked her way up to B, then she worked her way up to A, and then she became S minus Warframe, not S plus or not S minus. So she's very good simply based on her first ability only, and of course her third ability. So she's an S minus Warframe. Basically any Warframe that's in the S field is very good. Wukong is also S level Warframe, A plus to S level Warframe, but S minus. Why? Because he's just melee. He's not really a supporter, so he doesn't help the group. He only helps the group by killing. And because he's melee, he has to close the gap between him and his enemy. He cannot kill from afar. He has to get close, which is very, if you don't know how to use him properly, you could die a lot. But he's an S minus Warframe, anywhere from an A to an S minus Warframe. Zaku is more like A plus Warframe, and that's where I'm going to keep him. Anywhere from B plus to A plus Warframe, and that's it. Yoreli is a C minus Warframe, the lowest you could get. After you reworked her, she got to a C minus. Otherwise, she would still be in the D. And of course, Zephyr is also like a C plus Warframe to about a B minus Warframe. But that's basically the roster. Those are the S level Warframes of all Warframes. Oh, I forgot. Ash is also an A Warframe. So here it is. All the A Warframes are Ash, Banshee, Baruch is S tier Warframe. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to pay attention. If you're here to see the S tier Warframes and know about the S tier, Baruch, I'll say it right off, straight out. Baruch, okay? So, Baruch, first S tier. Baruch, Gara, I'm naming them all off right now, so you know. Whoever watched this video, so you could cut the bullshit and know. Baruch, Gara, Harold, I've seen him kill a lot of bosses. But I've seen him also die to a lot of bosses too. Ivara, Limbo, Loki, Mag, Mesa. Actually, I'm going to throw Inaros in there. Inaros, Mesa. Neza is questionable. Can be anywhere from A to S. Nova, extremely important, especially as a supporter. Nyx, To me, Nyx is S tier. Anyone who says otherwise is a moron. You turn on her fourth. You turn on her fourth and have 175 efficiency with her fourth, and you have the assimilate mod. And you have the assimilate mod attached, the syndicate mod. She's an S tier. Now, if you don't have assimilate and you're basing it simply based on her powers alone, she's an A level Warframe. She's an A plus. She doesn't go into S until you have that syndicate mod on. So, in all truth, she's really isn't S tier. She's more A plus, but I have her as S because that fourth ability is so godly. But she's more A plus. So I'll be realistic. I say she's A plus. Revenant, also S tier. Rhino, also S tier. But because when he's fighting enemies like say level 200 enemies, he dies a lot. He's now A. See, this is cutting the bullshit. He's now, I would say he's A plus. He doesn't belong in the S tier anymore. I'm thinking 3 hours in a mission now. 3 hours long fighting enemies now. So he's more A plus. Sarn, still S. 3 hours doesn't matter. Still S. Trinity, 2 hours, 3 hours, don't matter. You know how to use her abilities, she's gonna stay alive for a long time. If you really know how to use her, and if you have natural talent on, she'll survive for a long time. People who don't know how to go past 2 hours using Trinity, it's because they don't know how to use Trinity. Volt cannot really go past 2 hours, but because he's a god killer, or should I say he's a boss killer, is the only reason why he's in this roster. Long survival runs, not gonna make it past the 2 hour marker. The simple fact that he's essential for killing bosses is the reason why he's S tier. See, this is the cut the bullshit talking now. Wisp, yeah, she ain't gonna survive past 3 hours. Maybe not even past 2. But she is very important in supporting others with her first ability. That's what make her S tier. Wukong, I've seen people play Wukong with the groups of 2 or in a party. They couldn't go past, some people couldn't even go past 1 hour with Wukong, let alone 2. I would say he's A plus. Zaku, same thing. A plus, not really S. And everyone else is that. So those are the ones that are S tier. Alright. So I'll go over just one last time before I get off. Baruch, S tier. Go for a long time if you know how to use them. Gara, go for a long time if you know how to use her. 2 hours. Easy. Inaros can go for a long time if you know how to use them. Ivara, I don't even need to say anything about her. She doesn't know what 2 or 3 hours is, basically. If she really should be my S plus. If you have 175 efficiency with energy mod, I forgot the name of the mod already. Oh, damn it, what is it? Where is it? If you have this on and 175 efficiency, it don't even matter if it's 5 hours. You could be standing in place for 5 hours. Enemies are looking for you all over the place. Enemies could be level 1000. She could be still standing there invisible the whole time, capping them in the head until they're dead. As long as she avoids those Exilus enemies that have high corrosive effects, which you're supposed to run away from, or those that could have nullifiers to shut off your abilities, those you stay away from, she won't die. She should really be my S plus top tier of all of them. Also, Mag, can he go 2 hours easy? Mesa can't go 2 hours easy. She'll die a lot. But she's also S tier simply because she could kill fast, and she's a great supporter. That's the only reason why she's in the S. Yeah, Mesa definitely can't do 3 hours. I know Mag can. Nova can't do 3 hours. Nova can do probably 2 hours most. But because she's also a great supporter, she's a S tier. Yeah, she could do 3 hours easy. She's just like Avara. If you have 175 and that mod, she just keeps on her fourth the whole damn time. It's quite boring to use her in Avara, to be honest with you, but that's why they're S tier. Um, she could also go 2 hours easy. Octavia, S. Revenant, also S. Rhino, by the 2 hour mark, he starts dying a lot. No. Sarn, S. I think Titania can avoid a lot if she's a little butterfly, but no. She also has this ability where she turns on and could stay alive for a long time using her fourth, but she requires to kill using that ability, so no. Can't, you know. S tier simply because he's a great supporter, not because he could survive for long. He can't even do 3 hours. He will die a lot. She will also die a lot if she do 3 hours, but she's a great supporter. Also die a lot if you even go past 2 or 3. But he's a great melee, and it's the only reason why he would be. No, I still keep him at A plus now I think about it. But that's it. That's the S tier level. You know, that's basically it. You say, well, how the hell does Baruch this like? No, you have to understand this guy. Fourth ability is ungodly. Like the moment he starts doing this with enough energy, he kills everything. And of course, he has this ability that as long as he's facing towards an enemy, they can't kill him. So, but he basically points in any direction, everything goes dead. That's the reason why he's S tier. So yeah, that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. I could basically say every Warframe here is S tier if you know how to use them properly. But we're talking about the logic with regards to supporting and the logic with regards to long survival. If you want to be able to survive for a very long time, like if you're that type of person who's willing to sit on your ass for more than 2 hours to test something, the only Warframes that could go beyond 2 hours or 2 hours or beyond that to 3 are the ones that I'm talking about, or the ones that could even make it past 1 hour and 30 by themselves. By themselves, emphasis by themselves, are the ones that I'm talking about. As long as you keep sticking and moving, casting ability. Most Warframe could go to about 1 hour 30. The moment they hit 2 hours, they start dying off. The moment they hit 3 hours, they definitely are dead. It doesn't matter how strong you are. So the ones that I talked about, like the Garuda, the Ivara, they don't understand that logic. The Loki, they don't understand that logic. If they could stay invisible, you know, if they could keep if they could keep boxing enemy in a certain location, you know, Nyx, you know, or Revenant, they could do the infusions. Um, who else? Who else? Or Trinity, you know, if she could keep using her energy, her first and her second together while keeping her third on with mad duration time. It takes long for it to go off with natural talent, and using her fourth every single time. And you know, the moment her health keeps going down and down because mad bullets and mad bombs are coming towards her, and her third isn't working at all, and she keeps hitting the ground over and over to get health. She just rolls out of the way, goes behind a wall, does it for that fourth time, make sure she has enough energy by making sure the guy stays up there and enough range to get it back over time, goes back into mission, kills. So I would say by the third hour, all her revives will die out. Or let me be fair, by the 2 hour and 30, 2 hour and, yeah, 2 hour and 30 minute marker, all her revives will die out. And she might make it to the third hour. She might or might not make it to the third hour. I know she could make it to 2 hours because I already been made it to 2 hours with her before by myself. So I know she could do it. That's why she's S tier as well. It's also the reason why she's one of my top 3. So yeah, that's it. It's strange how it's not really strange how the top three are like the female Warframes, but then again, I never considered Warframes to be female or male. They're just the exoskeleton, their frame just looks female. But the great part about Warframe is their lore is that everything in this person's body has been digested. Eh, or if not digested, fused into nothing but gunky mush. It's called Warframe for a reason. Whoever watched this video, it's called Warframe for a reason. They're frames, like the frames on your car. There's nothing inside your car other than the parts that are moving. The frame is the only thing you're seeing. The only thing that's in the body of this person that used to exist in this body is nothing but gunky, oozy, black stuff, which is now controlled by the neuroptics mods or the elements. It's nanomachines basically that are controlling the locomotions of the body, the arms, the legs, the so on, the head. You go inside, you cut this warframe open, cut the legs open, cut the arms open, cut the heads open. Nothing but black ooze will come out. You know, solid, strong form black ooze. Basically, they took black ooze, poured it like hot mole inside of the body, and it frozen and got hard and it turned hard. So when the body and the arms are moving, it's just hard, gooey fluid moving inside of something that's more hard on the outside. That's why they're called frames. They're like Ken dolls or like Barbie dolls. There's nothing in there. There's no bones, no muscles. Everything was consumed by the Hellmite. So I don't consider any of them to be male or female because whatever was male and female has been dead a long time ago. So that's it. And that's all for this video. That's why the Warframe known as, I believe her name is Jade. The fact that she has the ability to conceive another Warframe is simply because of the black ooze that's in her has allowed her to have the capabilities to produce frames, like duplicate frames. That's her mechanic. Her mechanic of her fat little belly here, the mechanic of her fat little belly, or the mechanic of that fat little belly here that look like it's a pregnant child. It's not really a child. It's like an atom. Like her body, her stomach is like a container of, or like an oven. You know, you press the buttons on the oven, and you put the product in the oven. Or in her case, the black ooze in her body and the void element of the void energy that all warframes use are combined together and they're fused. Her stomach is like the oven, which basically cook the thing and create the thing. So she is not really a normal. It's not really pregnancy. It's more like test tube type thing. It's kind of like, you know, you're two guys or two girls or a group of scientists walk into a room. There's a huge circular object, and inside the circular object they're testing how to create a fusion atom. So that's basically what that thing is inside of the body. She has the ability to create atomic level characters, duplications of herself, like to create versions of Nyx, Loki, so on and so forth. That's her gift. So it's not really pregnancy. Pregnancy requires male and female to do certain things. She's basically asexual. She's like a worm, you know. She could create things off her own self. It's like duplicating herself. So that's kind of what she is. It's pretty damn awesome. I like it a lot. So it took a long time for them to get here, but it's kind of weird, but at the same time, it's not really weird at all. You just have to understand the logic of the Warframe world. This is a world of a horror show. Everything in Warframe is horror. She might look all pretty, but it's not pretty at all. Everything that happens to Warframe is quite evil, quite dark, and quite brutal in a world where war, emphasis on warframes, were needed by taking volunteers or people who were slaves, pulling them inside of a tube and letting something called a helmite consume their bodies and turn them into a hard shell type thing you see over here. So when someone throws bombs at them, shoot bullets at them, it bounces off their bodies like Superman. Or depending on the type of weapons you're using, it damages them to a certain degree until their shields go down, until their armors give way, and then they become weak. They're basically walking tanks. A tank can be destroyed, but requires an intense amount of force to destroy a tank. So that's what they are. So that's it for Warframe, and those were the Where would I put Jade with regards to this? I forgot where I put her. Oh yeah, I put her at a B. I kept her at a B because as great as she is, her ability is not that great. To be honest with you, they're better healing warframes in this game. To be honest with you, she has two very powerful healing abilities, but as we go along, as we see, maybe you could get her to an A minus, but I really consider it to be a B. Her abilities aren't. She's the newest Warframe too. She's the newest Warframe, so her abilities aren't, in my opinion, that great. Second ability is very good, and it can switch off. And I believe if it's not the third ability, it's the fourth ability. It's very no, it's the third ability I believe is very good. So first ability is not so great. Um, it well actually no. Yeah. Now I think about it, no, I changed my mind. Three of her abilities are actually good. She is a A. I think I classified her as either B plus to about A minus Warframe. So I would keep her as an A. So yeah, that's it. So she's not really S tier, but she's good. Those were the Warframes that were S tier. So yep, it was Baruch. It was um, Gara. It was Baruch. It was Gara. It was these are all Warframes that could survive for 3 hours. Baruch, Gara, um, not really Harrow. Naros. It was Ibarra, Mag, Loki, Limbo, um, Neza. Um, think. Um, uh, Revenant, definitely Siren, Trinity, uh, maybe Wisp if you know how to use a Wisp, and and that's it. And that's it. And of course, the ones that I did consider S tier simply because they're great are Volt and the other ones I said as well. So Volt is also included in S tier and Nova as well. And of course, I said Nyx before. So those are all the S tier ones. I said it before. I said it over again just to remember myself. And I keep going back to them, skipping over others because I know, based on tests, who are going to survive past 2 hours. I know his ass, he's going to die. I know she's going to die. I know Chroma. Chroma could actually now I think about it, I forgot Chroma. Chroma is S tier, and he goes 2 hours if you really know how to use him. I completely forgot Chroma. Chroma is also A plus, I believe, because no, he's A plus. He's A plus now. Okay, so that's it. He'll die. She'll die. She'll die. 3 hours. Definitely he's gonna die. Definitely will die. Definitely will die 3 hours. Definitely will die 3 hours. Definitely dead 3 hours. Definitely will dead in 3 hours. I'm talking about staying on your computer for like 3 hours straight. Definitely die in 3 hours. Definitely dead in 3 hours. Definitely dead. Definitely dead. Definitely dead. Definitely will die. But she's a good supporter, so she's still S. Definitely dead. Oh, wait a minute. I think I went 2 hours with her. Yeah, I forgot she was S tier. I forgot she was S tier. I went 2 hours with her before. I forgot Mirage is S tier. S tier. Yes. Mirage as well. Mirage as well. Definitely dead. Definitely dead. You have to build his stacks up before he can even become immortal. And if they eat out all his stacks, he has to start all over again. So no, definitely dead. Definitely dead. 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 Once energy runs out, dead. It's not the same as Nyx. You would think so. It's not really the same. Definitely dead. 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 Only reason you're S tier and you're S tier is because his melee is godly, is extremely good, and her support is very good. But that's it. And of course his support is very good. Otherwise, if he's 3 hours by himself, he's dead. Yeah, so those are S tiers. Those are the ones that are S tier. So that's it. That's it for this video. That's all the Warframes I'll say for right now. So I'll just keep farming for the giveaway tomorrow. So those are, if you want to check out those warframes on your own and see how, if what I'm saying is BS or not, if they could survive past, try to do 3 hours with those frames that I said, kept saying dead towards. If you don't even make it past 2 hours, then you will see what I'm saying. If you make it to 2 hours with the warframe, that I did say S is because you know how to.